Welcome, everyone. Thomas and I come to you under very, very happy circumstances. Grambling wins.
Yeah.
Grambling won homecoming on Saturday, defeating Arkansas-Pine Bluff by a score of 31-21. A game that I think Thomas and you all will agree was a very, very important game, not only for the psyche of the program, but for the purpose of let's face it, to have something to play for towards the during the duration of the season, and who knows, the possibility of some postseason play, even though there's still a lot of things that need to happen for that to happen. But hey, we will accept the circumstances as they are for now, because Lord knows we know that this could have been a completely different situation had things not turned out like we hoped they would have on Saturday. So, Griff, Grambling gets the win. Your initial thoughts of the game, and what do you say about it?
Well, the most important thing is getting a W, and we were able to achieve that. So that's always a good thing. But, I still feel like Grambling has a great opportunity to play better, I think there's room for improvement, which means they could still, look more proficient offensively, defensively, and I think right now we've been performing pretty good. I don't have anything negative to say about special teams because we've been basically doing what we're supposed to in that arena. But and we were able to create opportunities. I think we blocked one punt or a partial. He got a piece.
You got a piece of it.
Yeah, on one of them, and the other one, he just, it was a good block that set us up in excellent field position, what led to us getting a score. So, when you look at what we're doing, I still feel like penalties are a problem, but I will say this: we made enough plays to get the W, and that's important too. And we were able to get back on track in terms of scoring. Our scoring was up, so you have to kudos to the coaching staff and the players, and we hope to see them continue to just get better, gel, and give a good effort week in and week out.
So you mentioned penalties, and it's something that we have kind of struggled with during the duration of the season up to this point. Griff, Grambling had 9 penalties on Saturday for 105 yards. And look, if we're just going to be real, a UAPB team that was, for the most part, pretty feisty, and to be quite honest with you, in many ways outplayed Grambling on Saturday, especially in their ability to move the ball offensively. They had some big plays. They had opportunities in which they were able to move the ball in big chunks, and those 9 penalties didn't necessarily help matters either.
No.
You mentioned that, but again, I mean, you would think that given where we are literally midseason at this point. And while there may have appeared to have been moments where Grambling looked as if they were going to improve in that area, it's almost as if they've regressed. And here we are, mid-season. Your thoughts on the penalty situation? And this is something that you've talked about pretty frequently during almost since week 1. I mean, you're real big on this. So your thoughts?
I just feel like it's our Achilles heel. It's what keeps us from being more explosive on offense, and it's also what keeps us from getting off the field on third downs. These penalties, these that I mean, I'm sure it's probably driving our coaching staff nutty to see us come out and have these penalties that are just appear to be lapses in concentration or our inability to just sustain a drive without jumping off sides or illegal. It's always something, and it hurts. Our offense is trying to find its way.
Yeah.
We've been discussing that for,
Yeah.
I guess you and I have been discussing this for a while, but
Yeah.
when you're trying to find your way offensively to have big plays negated or to have drives stall out because you're in third and long, it really hurts production. And it's something Grambling has got to find a solution to if they want to, because again, this here at Grambling, we're looking for our teams to be competitive week in and week out. I don't see a team, whether it's FAMU, Jackson State, or any other school, that I think is just better. I think it just comes down to execution, and it comes down to controlling your emotions and playing or playing a better playing a better brand of football.
Yeah. And when you look at UAPB, again, a team that had a huge win over Prairie View, which, I
Yes,
mean, for all intents and purposes, you can argue ended Prairie View season, who currently sits right now with 3 SWAC losses. Prairie View, I mean, UAPB, 4 penalties for 15 yards. And if I'm not mistaken, I think maybe 1 or 2 of those penalties came towards the end of the game when they decided to go for that fourth down conversion deep in our territory. And they had a false start, which pretty much kind of, really ended it for them. But I mean, again, man, you look at it, they had, 332 yards total offense. They were balanced in their run game as well as their passing game. The quarterback, Mackay, can't think of his name. He was all that as advertised. 230 yards passing. Granted, we did Grambling, to its credit, and I think Mickey Joseph kind of emphasized this, managed to get some improvement in the run game once again. Over
yes,
200 yards rushing last week, 135 yards rushing this week. But those were some key runs, especially by Talbert in key moments. But what is it about this team? Because let me just say this. Despite the win, I still left that game kind of in a situation where I wasn't quite sad. I mean, you're happy for the win, but you still
yes,
can't help but to ignore the fact that there are definitely some issues there. Offensively, as it relates to the passing game, we saw 2 quarterbacks during the course of the game.
yes.
And I don't know how effective that was. And I think we've got the graphic. Let me see if I can pull that up. Miles Crawley, 15 to 25, 170 yards, which was great. But we got a chance to see Ashton Fry in a couple of series, pass a couple of, but I think he was in there mostly for his feet. And so maybe that was a sample of what we could expect to see going forward. But your thoughts about the quarterback play?
Again, I still, and this is just me just looking at the game objectively, I feel like our play calling is still slightly off. And I think that, man, I would like to see us do he threw, we did get the tight end involved
Yes.
slightly.
Yes.
And I mean, it was like a 72-yard
Yeah.
touchdown, if
71
I'm
yards.
not
Yeah.
mistaken.
Yeah.
But we've got to get our tight end more involved.
Yeah.
He seems to be a good athlete. I couldn't
Marquise
tell
Marquise
the
Harris. Yeah.
I couldn't tell that he was a tight end. When he caught the ball, he literally outran the secondary. So he appears to be a good athlete and capable of providing us with middle of the field challenges or challenging the opposing defense in the middle of the field. We've just got to get him more involved. But again, it was good to see us do what we needed to do. We gave up. We made a lot of mistakes defensively, but we did enough to be, to come away with the victory. Offensively, again, I would love to see us continue to strive for. I would like to see us do more with different formations,
Well,
and to try to do more things from a two back uh a two back set. I don't
that
know if
yeah.
they're capable of doing it, but man, if we could put two backs and put Crowley under center, I think it's going to help our running game exponentially.
Funny you say that. I swear to you. On my way, trying to rush here, coming home from Grambling. I stopped at Starbucks in Reston and ran
Hmm.
into someone who knows the team very, very well. And we got on the subject about Dooley, his offensive play calling, and we weren't necessarily criticizing the play calling, but you know, like for instance, we got on the subject about Marquise Harris and that play, because we have not really seen a whole lot of explosive big plays during the course of the season. We have not. And I think
Right.
that play to Marquise Harris was literally a surprise to everyone. 71 yards, And we were talking about it, and he was like, you know what? And one of the things that we hear people talk about all the time is that they need to go to the tight end a little bit more. They need to go to the tight end a little bit more, and it's something that for whatever reason people say that they don't see enough of. And then we see what happens when they went to the tight end. He tells me, because you were talking about, you would like to see some sets with a two back set and so forth. He tells me, he says, look, man, I've seen Dooley's playbook. He said, you would be surprised at what he has in his playbook that we've yet to see. I mean, he said he's got all kinds of funky sets, and he goes, his ability in terms of what he has available on paper is pretty damn dynamic. However, he said that, but you have to put in consideration limited amount of practice time. And when you're already in the situation, when you're trying to perfect what's already there, obviously you're going to add more plays in occasionally, but he says you'd be surprised at just how deep that book is in terms of his playbook. So it's funny you say that, but he's got a pretty deep playbook from what I've from what was told.
Okay. Well, tell you what, I mean, you until we see, sometimes when you see our offense struggling, like our offense is struggling, hey man, you got to maybe what it calls for is a different approach or to try a different solution. You don't know what will and won't work until you implement some of it, at least. But I would love to see our offense. I think we have good running backs. I think our running backs can be a strength for us and has been a strength for us,
Mm.
but I think it can be improved. I think we can. I think we can have the ability to run the ball, and the better we run the ball, the better play action. Our play action is going to be
There you go.
more. I think receivers are going to have an opportunity to get in the secondary much more efficiently and have more success. But we have to, and then we need to run the ball, because I also feel that when you watch the better teams, the things they do effectively is run the ball, because that's what allows your defense to stay on the sideline. If you have, sometimes when we get past happy at Grambling, it's one incompletion, then a second, then a third. man, we only. I mean, the time of possession might have been maybe less than a minute or a minute and a half. And I mean, our defense has been opportunistic this year, but I just think that when guys have fresh legs, they're better defense in the second half.
Yeah. Speaking of the backs, Bull Hargrove had a tremendous game.
Yes, sir.
10 carries, 75 yards, and a touchdown. But it was almost, I don't want to say that it was as if we had to force the running game, because even right now, given what we've seen, it seems like every single play still is almost a struggle. It's not as if we can just do things by will. However, for the second straight week, we actually got some pretty good production out of the run game.
Yes,
And shout out to Dedrick Talbot, man. He had some violent runs in which he just would not be denied. And so to be able to see how our backs look, especially in situations that required the run game to be effective, the way it was, it really was a breath of fresh air to see how effective that was for the second week. To your point, you said something that it'd be nice to see the running game, because obviously it opens up possible play action, which is true. And going back to, again, Mickey Joseph makes this comment all the time about how he wants to use the pass to open up the run. Okay, but that's still a struggle. But when you see how effective we were able to run the ball, and how it seemed as if to me that us being able to run kept them off the toes long enough so that when we went to that play to the tight end, it literally caught everyone off guard. I mean, we
yes, it
really
did.
had some effective plays running the ball. So real quick, and again, I want to make sure that we address this, because again, I feel that it needs to be addressed once again. Special teams and special teams play. You mentioned earlier about the snap. Now, some said that the kick was shanked, but I think in I think highlights, I think it was that it was blocked. If I'm not, that punt was blocked. There was one instance where we could have gotten the ball in like really good territory, but we muffed a punt, and
Yes,
UAPB was able to get the ball back. But for the
yes.
most part, especially as it relates to field goals and the kicking game and so forth, talk about special teams and how impactful it was
Oh,
on Saturday.
it, it led to some key scores. And although like you said, we did muff one punt, which was, which was a low light for us. But in terms of us uh, making contact on a block punt or having an opportunity to get a piece of it, set us up in excellent field position. Our kicking game it's been pretty consistent now. We've been making, I've always said, man, anything from the 35-yard line in, that should be child's play, and we should be able to convert that 95, 98% of the time. And I think our kicking has picked up in that area, because I was really concerned about our ability to convert field goals. And it's good to see that the staff has solved that issue. And, we're doing well in that area. But special teams will always, year in and year out, Ken, it's going to have a big uh, uh, influence on at least 2 wins every season.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
that's why the
Great point.
kicking game and being able to execute on special teams is so important.
Yeah, there were two key plays on Saturday in which we punted, and as William Graves indicated, punter played well and pinned UAPB deep a couple of times. I almost want to say it was at least 3 times. I thought it was one went out of bounds. They were inside the 10. There was one in which they were literally on the 1 yard line,
Yes.
in which, because I remember in a number of those situations, people sitting around me were saying, "Oh, let's go for it, let's go for it," And I'm thinking, no, we don't need to go for it. We need to flip the field. We've got special teams, and we've got a punter who does a great job of placement. And then you've got individuals who can run and put themselves in a situation to retrieve that ball so that, to prevent it from going in the end zone. But the thing is that you need special teams play like that, so that when you make the decision that, we're going to flip the field and have them work on it. You've got a defense, though, that, like I said, up to this point, granted, they give up some plays every once in a while. And Stephen talked about this last week, saying that, this defense is more of a bend but don't break type defense, which is true, But when you've got enough confidence in your defense to where, we're going to punt it, because I think we've got enough confidence in that to where we can get either, get a 3 and out, or, we can limit to where they won't drive the length of the field and we can get the ball back some way, somehow. They've been able to do that up to this point. So shout out to special teams for the play that literally, again, doesn't get enough credit for the work that it does to put the team in a position to win the way it does. For those of you individuals who are watching us, I ask that you please, as you guys know, we are a work in progress. This is a project that is new, and we ask that you do take the time to support us. You can make a donation by simply going to the1901podcast.com, subscribe, and enter your email address. It doesn't cost you anything to do that. To get access to our newsletter when we start sending it out, give us your email address, and while you're there, make a donation. If you don't necessarily want to do that via the website, you can Zelle. You can make a Zelle payment to donate at the1901podcast.com. And look, we will make sure to acknowledge you and, shout out to all of you, to those who have taken the time to donate and to support this. We really, really appreciate your viewership, your donations, and to grow this project. So let's pivot to why yesterday's game was so crucial. So let's just pull up the SWAC standings as to where we are right now. Now, people who may have noticed before Saturday, we were literally dead last in the West. It's amazing what one game can do. And given the results of what happened throughout the SWAC, obviously the game of the day yesterday was Jackson State and FAMU. And Jackson State won that game, and it literally finds itself in the driver's seat to just simply win out and could potentially win the SWAC East, which is why that game was so pivotal. FAMU isn't necessarily out of the running, but will need to win out, and obviously needs Jackson State to lose 2, because just winning for Jackson State to win 1, obviously J-State has the head-to-head over FAMU. So if FAMU has any chance of coming out of the East, SWAC East, they need Jackson State to lose 2. That loss also put Alabama State in a position to where it has new life now and will likely need some things to work in its favor. I think Alabama State and Jackson State, I think they still play. They still have to play.
Yes.
FAMU beat Alabama State earlier, so they've got that. But Alabama State and Jackson State, that game could be pivotal. They play a little later. So it's still very much, and I guess even A&M still is still in the driver's seat with that one loss. Even though I don't know what we can really expect from them, but Jackson State finds itself in the driver's seat. Our win yesterday. And for those of you who may not be aware, because of our unfortunate game 2 weeks ago to Alcorn State, and given where we are right now, it helps us that Alcorn State lost yesterday to Southern, who now finds itself in the driver's seat. So we still need Alcorn State to lose 2. Southern plays FAMU next week. So I with respect to the West, that's a SWAC game, and FAMU, look, that's a do or die situation for FAMU, and that it will likely be the SWAC game of the week next week. Southern and FAMU. I don't know where that game is being played. I think that game is going to be played in Tallahassee, if I'm not mistaken. So that's going to
Right.
be key. And so, not that we would have reason to really care who wins that game. However, for those of you who are particularly interested in postseason play, while you probably appreciated the fact that Southern won Saturday, you might want to, you shouldn't feel so bad if, for whatever reason, Southern loses on Saturdays. It would be to the Grambling's benefit. So anyway, we got a game next week against who do we? Texas Southern.
Texas Southern.
Texas Southern. And this is contrary to what some of you might think, this is not the Texas Southern of old.
No.
This is a Texas Southern team, to be quite honest with you, that should have beaten Southern 2 weeks ago. And due
Right.
to a boneheaded situation, for those of you who may know, I forgot what the score was, but literally Texas Southern found itself in a situation where all they had to do, they pretty much laid into the game. I think maybe 3 minutes left. They had the ball in Southern's territory deep. I think they were like inside the 20, or actually, I think they were inside the 10. And instead of just taking a 2-point safety, maybe just snapping the ball and taking 2 points so that you could kick off and put Southern on, flip the field, and then make them have to go the length of the field with very limited time left over. Instead, Texas Southern decided to punt. And it didn't end well for Texas Southern. And so now they find themselves in the situation that they're in. So anyway, Texas Southern could very well be a competitive game. And I'm gonna just say this now, man. And those of you, look, as happy as I am with the win on Saturday, and granted, I understand folks may say, well, this is Texas Southern. Like I told someone, there isn't a game on this schedule the rest of the way that we can just sit up here and say it's a guaranteed win.
Absolutely.
This used to be one of those games where back in the day, and historically speaking, Texas Southern was, okay, we can rest easy. It's just Texas Southern. You can't say that. We still have to play Texas Southern.
I'll take you down memory lane. How about the score used to be like 30-0 after the first quarter?
Yeah, man. Yeah. It used to be, that's not the case anymore.
No.
Not with the team that we're fielding, and not with Texas Southern with the way that they're playing. So we still have Texas Southern. We still have Bethune-Cookman. It's just not one of us. We still have Alabama A&M. We still have Alabama State, and we still have Southern. Those are, we cannot afford a loss.
We're gonna have to play our best football.
Yeah,
we are. Yeah. We're going to have to see improvement from last week's game. If we need to continue to do the things that you and I get on here weekly and talk about, which is take care of the football, make sure we use our running game effectively. Time of possession still is of great importance. It would be nice if our defense continues to create opportunities for the offense, whether it's through interceptions or fumble recoveries. And special teams, we have to be solid. And that's what's going to work if we want to win out over these next 3 SWAC or these next 4 SWAC opponents. Then that's what it's going to take. Every week we have to play well, and we have to limit the other team's opportunities, both offensively and defensively, which again, time of possession is always a good, if you can win the time of possession challenge, it's always a good thing. And if we can get Crowley back on track and we get some things done with him, then that's even better. We're gonna win. We're either gonna win or lose based on offensive, defensive performance week in and week out. Because I think these schools, if you notice, all these games are competitive. Why do you think that is the case? When you saw, when you've seen Bethune-Cookman be competitive against who they're playing week in and week out for the most part. Alcorn is competitive with who they play. Texas Southern has beaten Prairie View previously, and that was a competitive game. Along with Southern has looked competitive, even though they at the start of the season they had their stumbles, but they're right. They're Southern is 3-0 in the conference, which is shocking to me considering how they look uh, early on. But they've been able to pull. They have a 4-3 record now, and they're undefeated in the SWAC. So they still have some challenges ahead of them, which they're going to have to play well. But for us, we cannot do any scoreboard watching. All we can do is hope to take care of our business week in and week out and be more consistent in those three phases of the game.
Yeah. Granted, scoreboard watching doesn't help because, again, it does no good if we don't win the games that we need to win.
Correct.
To be quite honest with you, we just simply can't afford another loss. However, I pulled up Alabama's Alcorn State schedule because that's kind of we got Southern ahead, and the reason why I don't put a whole lot of emphasis on Southern just yet is because I'm just simply looking at this from a head-to-head standpoint and just how unfortunate those losses against that 2-point loss to UAPB. I'm sorry, the 2-point loss to Alcorn State, as well as that 2-point loss to Prairie View. How impactful those losses were, which has us in the situation that we're in right now, and unfortunately needing help just to get to that point. So Alcorn State, though, I'm gonna tell you, they've still got some key games here. So they've got Alabama State. They've got Alabama State. They got a bye week because Alabama State plays A&M, I think, in the Magic City Classic. But on November 2nd, they still have to play Alabama State. Alcorn still has Texas Southern. They've got Prairie View, and they have Jackson State. So given what we've seen of the teams in the SWAC West, it's not, look, we had our opportunities to beat Alcorn. We know how that went. Texas Southern has shown that it can sneak up and bite you in the butt. Jackson State, look, that is going to be key. Jackson State's going to have an awful lot to play for. And depending on how things play out between now and that's the final game of the year, that Jackson State Alcorn State game, that could be key. So that is if there is a silver lining to all this, do know that Alcorn still has some big games the rest of the way. With respect to Southern plays FAMU next week. FAMU just came off of a loss Saturday and can't afford another loss. In the case of Southern, the reason why I say that is because Southern could literally lose one and still be okay.
Yes.
The rest of the way. So again, our friends down in Baton Rouge, you don't want to necessarily be friendly about them next week. We need a Southern loss, and FAMU beating Southern would be to our advantage, provided that we can take care of business on Saturday against Texas Southern. So that's kind of where we are. Southern still has FAMU. They've got Alabama A&M, Bethune-Cookman, Arkansas-Pine Bluff, and us. Now, I dare say that Southern's road to the SWAC championship probably is a little easier. But again, given what we've seen with this UAPB team, I'm telling you, they could sneak up on you. I wouldn't dismiss Bethune-Cookman. I've seen them enough to know that they can create some havoc. So nothing is certain at this point. So those are the two teams, Alcorn State and Southern, who are in our way. Texas Southern obviously is next man up, but look, this is all about head-to-head matchups at this point. Prairie View, thank goodness, has 3 SWAC losses. So even though we lost to them, it's going to take an awful lot for them to get back into the play of things. But there's still some hope for us, if you will. And so we'll see. Jeremy Brackens says that SU will take an L at FAMU. I kind of want to believe that too, Jeremy, for the simple fact that you know, FAMU is against the wall right now. And given the SWAC East, man, Jackson State is still it's in their control. They're in the driver's seat. But Alabama State and FAMU still have some things to play for. A&M still has some things to play for, believe it or not. So it can get tricky between now and the end of the season. So I am in agreement. I'd like to think that Southern will find itself at a disadvantage going into a hostile territory in Tallahassee. Historically speaking, it's a game that there's some history between Southern and FAMU. So I don't know, man. This is interesting. I guess there's a part of me that while we're not necessarily ideally in the situation or the position that we should be in, we are literally 6 points. We lost those 2 games to Alcorn State and Prairie View by 4 points. But I tell people we are 6 points away from being okay. I don't know what happened. Our apologies for that.
Yeah,
You with me?
yeah, I'm with you.
Okay, all right. So anyway, we'll get that fixed next time. But anyway, so but no, we were literally 6 points away from being 6-1 at this point. In which hey man, we've got a lot to do. So anyway, look, Griff, we are going to go ahead and wind it down. Your closing thoughts on the game with against UAPB. Like I said, we won it, but your final thoughts on Grambling's win over UAPB.
Extremely pleased that we were able to get the W. There's much work to do. I'm sure that the coaching staff realize that. I hope the players realize that, because we're in search of. We want to see Grambling put it together, minus the penalties, the mistake, the mental errors. Giving up chunk plays on defense. I think we've done some good things. And again, you said it best, Ken, when you said we're literally 4 points away from being 5-1. And that's what we, at Grambling, the standard is always being a contender, not a pretender. And so for us, that's what we want to see Grambling get back to, is a consistent. I mean, we've always been a 9-win team, no matter what. And this to see us get back on track and to see us be proficient on both sides of the ball is what we're striving for. And this weekend will be just like every other weekend. We'll have an opportunity to show that we are heading in the right direction. And I think the Texas Southern game will be hard fought, because most of these SWAC games have been hard fought. It's all about making the play at the critical moments and the critical times in the game is what's going to separate the winners and the losers. So I just hope we can continue to do the thing. Again, homecoming is so much better when you win. So I'm sure a lot of people are pleased. I'm pleased, but I'm looking at it from okay, what do we need to continue? What areas do we need to improve at in order to to be prepared to take on these challenges? Because I think you said it best when you said that Texas Southern, Alabama A&M, Alabama State, and of course we're always going to get Southern's best effort in the Bayou Classic, because that's a huge rivalry game. So you're always going to you look for that game to be close, or at least competitive. We have to worry more or less about what we're doing and what we need to improve on rather than scoreboard watching. The rest will fall into place, hopefully, but I just want us to get a win.
Yeah. I before we're a little early, and I want to give those of you who watch an opportunity. Look, I want to get your comments. If I don't know if you had a chance to go to homecoming, I'd like to get your reaction, and we'll post it. Engage with us and let us know your thoughts about the game on Saturday. Your thoughts about homecoming, if you had a chance to experience homecoming. Um, I don't know if this is probably, you know what? I'm gonna go ahead and bring it up since you brought it up, Thomas. This will be the discussion that we talk about since we've got a few more minutes to go. You asked me a question before we started, and you said, Ken, what is it gonna take to get the other side of that stadium field? Now, that's a tall order, Griff. That really is. And I told you the first thing that came to mind was the only time that I can ever recall both sides of the stadium being really like just really packed. I'm reminded of the Alcorn State game back in what was that? That McNair game. That was 91. Was that 94? I forgot when that was. What was that? The 59 to 56 with that crazy game when Ed
Yes,
McNair came in, him and Nord. I forgot when that was. But anyway, that the game was packed for
that was
that.
92.
92. And then I remember we had a pretty good show when we played McNeese one year when Bruce was quarterback. They had a pretty good showing. But given where we are right now, Paul Taylor says it was 94.
Okay,
It was
94.
94. Appreciate you, PT. I appreciate your support, Paul. That's my man there. But I don't know if they're okay. It's going to take a lot, man. I will tell you guys this. For a guy like me who back in the day had no problem making that 4-hour trip from Dallas to Grambling, man, I used to love it. Had no problems making turnarounds, and I still do it now. But I just think that in order for attendance, which actually hasn't been bad this year, to be quite honest with you, I was surprised at the Tuskegee attendance. I think it was like 10,000 people. Now, it was early in the season. I think it was the fact that we played Tuskegee. When you put in consideration the historical significance in playing Tuskegee and what the kinship is between the two schools, I think that said a lot. I think overall, given what's typical of Grambling, attendance this year is actually be pretty good. Now, as for the marketing aspect, I just think a lot of things have to come into play. I think you have to put in consider that requires cooperation. I think not only from the school, but there's got to be a level of cooperation between the school and the city of Grambling. I think one of the things that's really killed things with marketing or put like this, I think game day environment leaves a lot to be desired with Grambling when it comes to football games. And I think a lot of that, unfortunately, was due to, some of the knuckleheaded situations that we've had, with,
Yeah,
gun violence and so forth. And understandably so, especially when when Rick was president before he left for the ULS, he had to make some tough decisions in which, you had to kind of shut down folks, campus curfew and folks. And so when you put in consideration having these games played on Saturday, the game day environment, man, when you put in consideration the parameters in which people have to be off campus, it's just not conducive to it. You know, um, it's a challenge. If we're going to be honest with you, when I was at homecoming, the first thing that came to mind was, and I understand this is something that has to be done. I don't know if it's obviously budget plays a lot, but I couldn't help but notice that there were a lot of police cars from neighboring jurisdictions. I saw a police car, Natchitoches Police. I saw Farmerville Police. I saw a lot of other police cars helping to patrol the campus. Outside of Grambling, obviously, you see state troopers. You see campus police. You see Grambling police, and you even see, I guess, Ruston every once in a while. But I just found it fascinating to see a lot of these other cars from other jurisdictions to help with security, which in and of itself is very important. So I just think that there are just a lot of things internally that probably have to be addressed before we can. Again, I'm not saying that marketing isn't important. Paul Taylor saying marketing, giveaways, and all sorts of promotions. That's fine. But if we're talking about marketing, then in essence, we're saying we would like more people to come to the game. Well, if you need more people to come to the game, then guess what? You need more security to help oversee the crowd. And I couldn't help but come to the conclusion that apparently that in and of itself is a challenge. And I will, I've already talked to the AD and I've already talked to the president, Dr. Lamel. They will be on in the near future. And these are some things that we will talk about. And I'm not saying it's going to be a town hall, but I intend to make this a situation to where it will be live and we will hopefully be able to address those questions to those individuals about game day environment, about campus security, about infrastructure, and so forth. But outside of that, and I'm not saying that was a bad thing. I mean, look, from what I understand, there were no major reports. Everything appeared to be extremely orderly. They had the temporary fence around the campus, and I would even go so far as to say, for the time that I was there, things for the most part was pretty orderly. Now, I heard some folks that were saying traffic was pretty nasty coming on I-20. I don't know if that was Saturday morning, and I guess that's usual. But typically, I get there, Thursday night or even Friday morning sometimes, to where I don't really get a chance to witness the traffic. But I was told traffic on I-20 was just a booger. Trying to get in there on Saturday. And, I don't know if that's necessarily a bad thing or a good thing, but when traffic is backed up on I-20 trying to get on exit 81, I don't know. That says a lot. So, but I don't know. What are your thoughts? You're talking about marketing, because for you to bring that question up tells me that apparently you think more could be done.
I do. And with more, I know the possibility exists that you can have more things go wrong uh, with an increased uh, fan base. But I just feel like, man, we got a good product, and we want to get that product in front of as many viewers as possible. And on top of that, I think it creates a revenue stream. I think if we could run, someone had indicated earlier about marketing or about, getting, I think we can use it for both recruitment, and I think we can use the increased I mean, those kids don't have a lot. It's not a lot going on in Minden and Monroe and different places. Let's expose these kids to Grambling State University in terms of being under consideration to be and to become part of the student body. But also, I would love to see us use that as an opportunity for more revenue. One thing I will say, maybe you can let the kids in for a reduced price, and then turn around on the back end and make it up in candy bar sales and Cokes and Sprite and whatever else,
You talking about with
young
concession,
people.
right?
Yes, concessions
Right,
is
right.
huge.
So you mean
But
what, like maybe
concessions is
free
huge
tickets?
everywhere.
Free tickets for students, and obviously the adults who bring
If
them in
that's
would
what it
pay. Right,
takes.
right. I hear you. I hear you.
That's
I
what
hear
it
you.
takes, because at the end of the day, you can get some vendors over on that other side. If they know they're going to make money, you can even you can charge you can go up on your vending fees. I mean, there's all types of opportunity, and we should be doing more with outreach to young people. What's our best product? Well, Grambling football, uh, in my opinion, has always been our calling card. So why not introduce it to a whole new, younger fan base that, and get more churches and civic groups involved, so we can just get more people on that other side. I can see that the home side is always filled to capacity, but on that visitor side, it doesn't seem like a lot of teams are, fan bases are traveling like even maybe they should. Another fan base that we would have really good crowds participation was also Jackson State. I don't want you to leave Jackson State out. They generally travel well, but I just would love for Grambling to get more people on the visitor side stands.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it would basically, again, I think it would help us in terms of a new stream of revenue, just having people in those stands that, buying hot dogs and chicken and whatever else we're mass producing that weekend.
Kendall Price, what's up, Noop? I see. He says the town and the university needs to collaborate and make Grambling an all-American college town. We need a few hotels and some up-to-date spots in the village. So great points.
I agree.
Which is why, if you recall, I said earlier, I said that we needed, that has to be a collaborative effort between the university and the.
You said that.
Yeah, but the thing is, I don't know if I'm really supposed to say this, but let's just say that at one point, not too long ago, there was some.
They've been.
There was some headbutting
years
between the university and the town of Grambling. And I'll just leave it at that. I don't know all the details. I just know that there had been some. I think things have gotten better now, and that things are hopefully on an upward trend. But that in and of itself was problematic with
in the past. Yes.
With corporation. Yeah.
Yes.
Kendrick saying, so Kendall, you'd be surprised at how many people see Grambling while traveling and just stop, but there's no hotel or spots to hang out without going to Ruston. Hey, look, man, I get it. I agree. I mean, what Paul Taylor is saying, what happened to the kid zone? Now, I'm not familiar with was there a kid zone? I'm not familiar with that, but I just think that if a lot of things have to happen, the university can't do it by itself. Grambling, look, it's not the type of place, granted, you could talk about the legacy, you can talk about Eddie Robinson, the museum and so forth. I think winning helps. That's one thing. I mean, the winning, that kind of takes care of itself.
Yes.
I think, again, the game day for me, and this is a lot of people, man. For me, and that may not necessarily be the norm, but for a lot of us, man, I play like this. Jay Walker used to say this all the time. He says, man, it's hard getting to Grambling, depending on where you're coming from. And there have been instances, and I still do this, if I go to Grambling for a game, and I'm typically going to do a turnaround, I spend more time on the road getting to and from Grambling.
Yes.
Than I am actually in Grambling watching the game. It takes me 4 hours to get to the Grambling just to watch a 3.5 hour game.
Right.
And then I'm 4 hours back on the road. So that's 8 hours. That's practically, that's a 9 to 5. That's 8 hours. That's 8 hours on the road just to go. And that's not problematic for me, or it can be. But I'm exhausted when it's all said and done. I still have work I got to do and things of that nature. But that's, you got people come from Shreveport, Alexandria, maybe some come from Houston. They're doing turnarounds. And I just think that sometimes there are some who say, you know what, I'd like to go, but what else is there to do? And I really believe, and I've seen enough of some of these other, I'm not just talking about PWIs, but HBCUs, to where the game day experience matters. Because if you're going to drive 3 or 4 hours to go see a football game, make it worth my while to come.
Correct.
And I want to be fair. It's a lot easier said than done. I understand it takes money, it takes resources, but it's, I dare say compare us to whatever it is. I've not been to a Louisiana Tech game in many moons, but I just think that there has to be something to be said about the game day experience. And I understand that our culture is a little different from Tech. especially when it comes to night games. But it would be nice, man, to be able to say you got a game that starts at 6 or 6:30 or 7, and someone can literally go out that morning and spend the entire day just tailgating, and it being like a festive environment to where that build up to that 6 or that 7 p.m. start is all that is cracked up to be. And, and everybody just has a good time, or it could be that 1 or 2 p.m. start, in which after the game is over with, there's still there's still a festive atmosphere that again makes people want to stay to just take everything in. And but when you're limited on hotel space, homecoming being what it is every year, and we constantly hear about the outrageous hotel prices being charged, that in and of itself is a challenge. But there are no hotels in Grambling. There's limited food establishments there. Even though credit to those individuals, the vendors who've come there with trucks and so forth, excellent job, but having some options and being able to support those individuals. And I like that everyone took a proactive stance and making sure that we do whatever we could possibly do to make sure that we support the businesses in Grambling. That I really appreciate that. But still, lodging is important, and hotels and so forth. It's a rural area, man, and it's going to be rural for a long time. But I just think that to address the issue that you made with respect to marketing, there has to be an awful lot of participation and collaboration from other outlets or establishments other than just the university to make that all happen.
Correct.
So, hey, man. So those are my closing thoughts. Appreciate the conversation, guys. Again, it's the 1901 podcast. You can visit us on the web at www.the1901podcast.com. Make a donation. Like I said, this is grassroots. We are growing. This thing is we're going to make it happen. We're going to make it happen. And but I ask that you go to the website, enter your email address to become a member of the newsletter that will be publishing, as well as making a donation to support the channel. And you have my word. You have my word. We will make this every bit it deserves to be and more. One more comment. Let me see. Kendall saying the AD has to see what other colleges outside of our conference are doing for game day. You know what, Kendall? I think I will say this, man, and I will say this. I will say this. Travion Scott, and I say this respectfully. Keep in mind, man, Grambling has been an athletic program that kind of went a long time without a stable athletic director. Either people would come for short periods of time and would leave, or in the case of, my man Ponton, some were doing dual roles, and an athletic director's responsibility, you can't split that up.
No.
And so we finally have an athletic director who's dedicated to doing the job. And in my conversations with him, man, I'm telling you, he is committed to the job, and he is, I know some people got in their, pants in a wad, the fact that he went to Southern. The brother is committed to doing the work at Grambling. And so while, nobody's perfect, there's always room for improvement. I do know that he wants to do well, and he's doing everything that he can to make sure that the game day experience is what it is. But there's only so much that a person can do given the infrastructure that we have to work with, the framework in which he has to operate with. I just want to say that, man. So shout out to Travion Scott. He will be on as a guest in the very near future. But we'll just leave it at that, man. So he's Thomas Griffin. I'm Ken Rashad. G-Men win homecoming. We live to fight another day. And I am not a FAMU fan, but FAMU, if you want to do the damn thing against Southern Saturday, that's all right with me.
We'll be rooting for you. That's right.
All right, guys, man. We'll see you guys next time. God bless you. All right.
Okay. Take care.